All right, everybody, welcome back to the Big Blue Dynasty series here on Madden 25. We are now heading to the 2025 offseason. The New York Giants ended with a 4-13 record, and with that particular record required some type of change here. And that change is our new head coach. Ben Johnson is going to be our new head coach coming over from the Detroit Lions squad. He was their OC, highly coveted the last couple years, but now the Giants have pulled the trigger to bring him in. Dable did what he could, he just was not the guy. He couldn't take care of it. I didn't feel like the playbook matched with what we had. And rather than taking a chance and bringing a quarterback to Dable, him not being able to do enough with that quarterback and then cutting him, I think it's best for us to roll with a new change. And Ben Johnson, to me, will give us the best chance. Joe Schoen and Ben Johnson don't really have any ties to each other, and I think that's for the better. Now with this team, our scheme is going to be a vertical zone run and a base 3-4. It shows defensive playbook is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we won't be doing anything like that. It is actually a base 3-4 stock book where we customized how we're going to play that out. And how to create a playbook, I'll show that, knowing that there's some current issues with how Madden or EA has it set up. It's pretty bad. It's not the way it used to be. It looks like they just, it's not great. So we'll talk through that before we get into the into week number 1 at that point, but we're far from that. So Ben Johnson's there. We do have an OC and a DC here now. We got offensive coordinator Kevin McGovern, who's got quarterback guru. Now my hope with him is that he continues to grow our quarterback that is going to be there. Now my goal is to retool and redo that entire quarterback crew. We are not going to be having anybody there. I need to figure out what would happen if I were to cut Daniel Jones. How much cap would I have in the upcoming advance? So we're going to go through that. But he's got quarterback guru and he's got secure the line. So I think both of those are pretty nice right there. We also got the defensive coordinator here with the base 3-4. It's got an inside 4-3 scheme. But the main reason why I snagged him up is because of defensive back guru and second level. Both of those things are going to be crucial to allow our 4 guys up front to eat. Now there's still a lot of things to work on, right? We got our outside linebackers in Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns, but the interior is just Dexter Lawrence. So that needs to get worked through. And that is the hope in this upcoming offseason. We focus on that. There are 25 players that I have currently right now on my list prior to moving into the re-signing area. Now, how you can do that is before advancing, you can go to team salaries, and basically you can go to remaining contract, click square, and everybody that's a 0, those are all the players that are currently up for re-signing. And what you can do is scan for each team out there to see who is potentially going to be a free agent before you get there. So what I did is I went through all 31 other rosters to see who I could potentially bring in if I can't re-sign some of the players that I'd like to have in my current group, right? We got like 20 something players that I got to re-sign. We have 12 practice squad players. Only 11 now with Faalele getting signed prior to me advancing. So we're going to have to retool this group and allow us to create the vision with Ben Johnson at the helm now. When it comes to the draft class, we do already have that set now. This is the most up-to-date draft class here. I wanted to do this prior to the combine scores coming out. So I have players already favorited. And when you look at the favorites that I currently have right now, that will pull us to number 60. I got 65 players on my ranking. So this is not in complete order. What I talked about the draft board previously, it's not the greatest. What you'd want to do is you have them favorited, but you set up at all positions. And this allows you to see kind of like how the board would look from a ranking standpoint. And this allows you to go, okay, Do I want to reach on some of these things, or would I prefer not to reach and just grab the guy that's best available at that time? So I have really set up the board to where I got players all the way up from, the top 5 down to, as you can see here, 371 ranked. And a lot of them are kind of tricky, a lot of interesting concepts. So we'll probably talk to the draft class in that one in a different episode, but today is the off season. So now that we have that all in order, let's see where we can go. Right? The Super Bowl champions are the Buffalo Bills. Philadelphia Eagles lose it once again in the last, 4 years they've gone. 2 years out of the last 4 years they've gone, they've lost at the ship. Josh Allen getting that Super Bowl means a whole lot, considering he doesn't have a whole lot of players out there. Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, the rookie, Dalton Kincaid. They don't really have anything too crazy, so they're going to get a chance to probably bring in some better stars, and their cap isn't that nuts. So we're going to go ahead and advance ourselves to the re-signing period, and let's see what ends up being out there. So we got 21 players we have to re-sign. When we look at this here, it looks like Dayo Ogayingbo is likely available this offseason. They're telling us free safety, Javon Holland, who's on my list, Milton Williams from the Eagles. You got Drew Dahlman, an O-lineman, center Travarius Ward, that's another guy on my list. You got Josh Myers. I thought about Josh Myers, but I gotta figure that out because I don't know if I want him to overtake JMS. Corners, Paulson Adebo is on my list. Dylan Reduce is also on my list as a right guard. And then they got Ryan Stonehouse, a punter here. So I'm not really concerned about him, but it's good to know that the players that are currently on the list are there now. I hope Javon Holland ends up being one of our guys. We'd like to make a splash where we can, but I definitely want to emphasize leaning on our draft where we can. And just look at the news over there on the right side, folks. You got Keenan Allen not re-signing with the Bears. You got Alvin Kamara getting cut. You got Cameron Jordan getting cut. That's a player I did not expect to be available here. So we got some things we can do, but let's focus on the re-signing period first. So they want us to accept the re-signing here of Kayvon Thibodeau, and I will. 5th-year option makes a whole lot of sense. We get to tag that in there. Now that we are in a re-signing period, I am going to look at the salaries here and see who I would like to cut. There isn't too many players I'm focused on there. The guy that I am looking at right now is Mr. Daniel Jones. If we were to cut him, where we stand right now, it would be a loss of about 20 million with a penalty of 55. So we would be eating about 30 million of cap space that we currently have right now. That is a lot, folks. So we could keep Daniel Jones, let him kind of just be the guy in the background and work with Ben Johnson, or we can try to eat the cap and just not have a crazy offseason. A lot of that is tough. If we were to restructure his contract, we would get only 3 million of extra cap space. See, and that's the thing right there. See, after the restructure is 76 million. Cap space after restructure is about 90 million next season. So if we were to cut him now, that would leave us with we would have about 30 million of cap space that would be eaten up this year, which means we'd only have about 20 million to fulfill the rest of our board. Is that needed? Is that important? I think so. But we're going to have to work through that as we approach it, because I definitely am concerned about our cap right now, right? We got 73 million in cap space with the players that we have to sign after the Kayvon Thibodeau's hit will not impact us until the following season. So we got 55 million in cap space right now, including the draft picks. So if we were to make the moves now, you're talking about a huge situation where we probably won't be able to bring a lot of these guys back. And to be honest, there isn't a whole lot of players I'd like to bring back. maybe Michael Barrett, maybe Steny, and not even Jamie. The first decision Ben Johnson will make here is a cut of Daniel Jones. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of money here, but I think it's necessary. So we wish Daniel Jones the best. And after that, we are left with about less than $30 million. Now, what I like about this, and what I could see myself doing now is knowing that we have that move. There are certain players that we can restructure. The game doesn't allow you to restructure until you hit year 3 remaining on the contract. So players like Dexter Lawrence, I'd love to free up. I think that's a fair move right there. Kick the can down the road, allow us to have an additional $6 million this year. I would also I don't believe we could do anything for Brian Burns. We can't do anything for Andrew Thomas since his contract isn't until year 3. So we can't do that. Bobby Okereke, I could see him being here for the remainder of his contract. That will free up $2.44 million. So we're going to still be able to make a splash. And I think $30 million is a decent amount. So we got Okereke there. I'm looking at any other big guys that we can potentially make a move on here. Nunez Roches, maybe. He's a player that isn't too crazy there. He would free up a little bit, $3.6 million. Yeah, I'd do that. First guy that I'm looking at right now is Azeez Ojulari. He's 25 years old, and he honestly played okay for us on the back end as far as the outside linebacker is concerned. He doesn't really want to play for us, so we would probably have to give the man closer to, I'd say, $3.5 million, or have him play about $4 million there. I'd say $7 million. So I think that's a fair deal. I actually probably think we're going to have to give him a little bit more. So probably about $8 million a year. I think that's a fair move to bring in a guy that could play some good depth for us. Azeez Ojulari is still young, and I think that can help us out. We'll see if they accept it. He has not. So Azeez Ojulari will hit the open market, unfortunately. We are not going to accept the 5th-year option for Evan Neal. We'll let him play it out. If he does well, great. Jason Pinnock is not asking for a whole lot of money, and I think that's going to help us out from a free safety standpoint. Now, he is going to probably warrant a little bit more, and I think here's probably about $5.5 million per year is fair for someone like Jason Pinnock, and he has accepted it. So I'm really glad that we got our free safety there. That helps us out. Now, Nick McLeod would like to come back. I don't see that happening there. I really want to retool the corners, and McLeod ain't it. So we'll move on from him. Boogie Basham, he's asking for about $5 million. I'd like to move on from him. Drew Lock, no thanks. We're going to move on from him. Like I said, we're retooling that whole crew as far as the quarterback room is concerned. Michael Barrett is not asking for a whole lot of money. He's behind Musau and McFadden. Is he necessary? I don't think so. I'd like to probably bring him back as a practice squad player if he's eligible. You got someone like Tyler Harrell here who's not asking for a whole lot of money. I'm fine with bringing him back, and then if he ends up playing, great. If not, we just put him back to the practice squad and we move on. So we'll give him a chance. There's no cap hit if we cut him, so I'm cool with that. Tyree Phillips, we brought him back just for depth. That didn't work out. Anthony Johnson, no thank you. Matthew Adams, DeVito, I think that train is run its course. Aaron Steny. What I like about Aaron Steny is just more depth on the O-line. I don't know if we're ever going to find our true right guard. So I'd love to have somebody here that I can trust as far as experience. He's kind of in the middle of the road as far as wanting to play for us. And I think about $3 million a year is more than fair for Aaron Steny, and he has accepted that. So I think that's a good move there for us. Is there anybody else on this list that I'm really pumped about? Not really, folks. Greg Von Rotten, he came in. I didn't really think he did that all too crazy. If we can bring him back in the offseason, awesome. Jamie Gillen's asking about $2 million with a $500,000 signing bonus. I don't think that's going to be enough to bring him back, but if he does, great. Nope, he wants to play for another team. So we're going to have to look at a punter. We have a kicker now. Now, there are some kickers in the draft that I'm scouting too, so we'll see what happens there. So all in all, not a bad re-signing period there. If you look at what we did as a team, the decisions weren't that difficult. We were able to bring in certain guys here. So Aaron Sinise signed a 1-year, $3 million extension. Tyler Harrell, $1 million, no guaranteed. You got Jason Pinnock with a 2-year, $11 million contract. We cut Raheem Nunez Roches, restructured Bobby Okereke's contract to give us an additional $2.4 million in cap space. We restructured Dexter Lawrence's contract to give us $6.4 million. We cut Daniel Jones. We accepted the 5th-year option for Kayvon Thibodeau, and I am pretty freaking pumped for that. So I think our guys are in a good spot, man. We just gotta continue to roll through it, and hopefully we can succeed there. So we're going to go ahead and advance and get ourselves to stage number 1 of the free agency. So as far as free agents are concerned, there's some really big ones out there, right? You got Amari Cooper, you got Keenan Allen, you got Justin Simmons, and those are some pretty good players. Now the thing to take into account here is I only am allowed to negotiate 3 players per eval period in the first round, 5 per eval period in the second stage, and then it's unlimited after that. My goal though is, when it comes to the 3rd stage, is I will only be giving out 1-year contracts from there. Now we got about $38 million in cap space, not a whole lot, but there are some players on this board here that I am looking at. So out of the 26 players, out of the players that I looked at, there are some guys here that I'm definitely trying to see who I could potentially bring in. First guy is Justin Fields. I don't know if he'll necessarily be a starter for us, but what I like about Justin Fields is he does have that mobility that could really work in a Ben Johnson scheme. Now here's the thing, Justin Fields stuff is actually not that crazy. He's got stats that really make a whole lot of sense for him to strive. Now there are some other teams that are probably willing to give him a whole lot of money. I don't know if it makes sense for us to do that here in this space or at this time, but Justin Fields is one of the guys I am looking at bringing in. We could also bring in a pretty good solid veteran there in Sam Darnold. He's only asking for about $9 million for the next 3 years. Sam Darnold kicked our butt in week number 1 in real life. He's going to be a 73 overall. His throwing powers there, his accuracy across the board are screaming like this guy can do some work. I think having a veteran like Sam Darnold could push a potential rookie that we would draft to succeed. So I wouldn't be upset with that one. As far as some other positions, we'll talk about those. The big one here that I'm looking at is the corner. And the guy that I want to bring in, although he doesn't want to play for us, is Mr. Paulson Adebo from the Saints. This guy's an 84 overall. He's got 91 speed, 91 acceleration, good man coverage, ridiculous zone and press. This is a guy here that could really help us out and allow us to find a true number 1 corner and let Deonte Banks play corner 2 and kick butt. The other guy that I'm looking at in the corner position is Eric Stokes from the Green Bay Packers. Eric Stokes doesn't have any development grades here, but he's got incredible speed. He's got good man coverage, decent press, okay catching. His issue is when he gets hurt, he gets hurt bad. He's 6 foot 194, not the craziest with stat lines, but I think he could still be pretty solid for us. Now the guy I was looking for to try to bring in, it looks like he was signed, and that was Charvarius Ward. I wanted to bring him in and see if we can leverage him, but it looks like he has been taken there. So really it's Paulson Adebo, it's Eric Stokes. Those are the 2 main guys that I'm looking at in the corner position. As far as free safeties are concerned, the guy that I'm aiming for right now was Javon Holland, but Javon Holland looks like he is gonzo. So that was the only free safety I wanted to bring in. Unfortunately, he is gone. So, we got to move on and locate some other potential prospects here. Right outside linebacker, there was a guy that I was looking at mainly for that veteranship and hopefully to kind of help us out, and that is Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack to me is a guy that we could probably move into an end position. This guy is a player that I hoped the Giants would have drafted when he was in the class. I think when Khalil Mack was drafted was the same year. It was 2014. It was the same year as Odell Beckham Jr. So he was drafted a couple picks before Odell. I think Odell was pick 6. And I was hoping for Khalil Mack, but unfortunately, I think we were pick 11. Maybe that was it, because Eric Ebron, I think, was pick 6 from the Steelers. So I was hoping for someone like Khalil Mack to make it to the Giants. Now, Khalil Mack has definitely been in the NFL for a long time, right? 11, 12 years. He's a great player. So Khalil Mack is a player I'm looking at in the right outside linebacker position. There is another guy that I'd like to bring back potentially in Isaiah Simmons. I think Simmons can be an awesome player for us. To bring him back would be nice. Akeem Davis-Gaither from the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he could be a really good player for us. For me, on my end, Akeem Davis-Gaither is a very solid coverage linebacker as well. I was also looking at some other guys here. Jonathan Cooper from the Broncos. He's got a really sick power move. So although he's not the fastest guy, I think we can leverage him to send blitzes out there to give our guys some rest. You know, Burns and Kayvon Thibodeaux are going to do work, but what if we move Jonathan Cooper as one of the rushing D tackles? That could be a pretty successful NASCAR package for us. And then there was one other right outside linebacker I was looking at, and he's a low OVR guy, but I think with him, he could still do some work, and that is Cameron McGrone from Michigan, a former Michigan alumni, 6'1", 236 pounds, and his speed is there. That's a depth guy, can help us out in special teams potentially. When it comes to the middle linebacker positions, there was only one guy I was looking at for two guys I was looking at for the middle linebacker, and one of them is no longer here. I was looking for and hoping that Nick Bolton would not go back to the Chiefs, but you know, they definitely believe in him as much as we would have, and unfortunately he is gone. Now there is one other guy here that I could consider bringing in, and that is from the Bears, Jack Sanborn. I think this guy could really do some work for us. The dude is a thumper and could be a good depth piece if need be there. When you look at the left outside linebacker position, I only have one guy that I was trying to get, and he's actually available, and that is Willie Gay. This guy has championship freaking pedigree, right? Coming over from he was a former Kansas City Chief, so he's got some rings. He went over to the Saints. They don't have any cap, so they couldn't bring him back, but this guy screams amazing. I think he doesn't have the power mover for Ness, but imagine if we maybe moved him into middle linebacker, or we had him play like the pass coverage roles at linebacker. I think Willie Gay could be good. Sub linebacker, that might be the move for us, to have Willie Gay out there all day long. So I think the linebacker spots are in a good space. If we sign Khalil Mack, we could potentially move him to an end position. Now, as far as ends are concerned, there was only one guy I was looking at, and he didn't make it. And he was going to come from a rival, and that was DeMarcus Lawrence. So unfortunately, there isn't any players here that I saw as available prior to the re-signing that I was like, oh man, that could be sweet if we brought him in. There are some D tackles that I hope could be available here. The first guy that I am looking at, and actually we only have one DT on the two DTs. So one guy I was looking at was a former Giant, BJ Hill. He was traded to the Bengals for like a late round pick, and I was really pissed about that. BJ Hill is 29 years old. Imagine if him and Tomlinson were still available. How sweet would that be if these guys were right next to Dexter Lawrence? So I think someone like BJ Hill alongside Dexter Lawrence could be a really sweet move for us. So that is a player. I wish you can favorite players on your free agency list too. That would be a really interesting play. The other guy I was looking for, it looks like he did get re-signed, and that was back to the Jets. That was Javon Kinlaw, former 49er. He's got that playoff pedigree that I was really interested in. Dude's still very young, and I was kind of hoping he would have made it, but he did not. The offensive line position, there was no tackles that I was a big fan of. Havenstein could be interesting, but he's just old. But there was a right guard here that I'm interested in, and that's Dylan Radunz. The guy is only 25 years old, I believe, 27. He's been in the NFL for 5 years. But the issue that I have with him is all his stats look great, but the dude's got an injury concern. He can play through it, but that means that there's chances that this guy's going to be in and out of the field from time to time, which is just like getting dinged up. So I'm a little worried about that one, but that is the only offensive guard that I was looking at in this upcoming free agency market. There wasn't any tight ends I was looking at, although Noah Gray and Juwan Johnson would have been quite fun. I just don't know if we're going to be able to bring one of those guys in. I think Theo Johnson's going to do just fine. The wide receivers, there are some players I am looking at. Amari Cooper is one of them. I think it would be really good to have Malik Neighbors alongside a good veteran like Amari Cooper. He's got the mentorship as well. The guy isn't the craziest, isn't the fastest, but his route running and release are amazing. And having a for sure target right there for the upcoming new quarterback crew that's going to be here, I thought that would be a nice move for us. He's asking for a lot of money, and it looks like the top two guys, the top two veterans, are really being chased. So tough right there. You got Marquise Brown. It's got some guys. DeAndre Hopkins has none. I do have Rashid Shaheed on my list, I believe, as a potential guy to get signed as a free agent. I thought he was somebody that could be pretty neat. So imagine if we brought Shaheed onto the team alongside Paulson Adeba. I think that would be a really nice move. Elijah Moore, he never really got a fair shot. And I think with him there, if something were to happen to Wan'Dale Robinson or Jalen Hyatt, I think Elijah Moore can really do that work there for us. The other wide receiver, those are the three wide receivers I was looking for. 4 wide receivers, excuse me. So it was Rashid Shaheed, Elijah Moore, Rondale Moore was the other guy I was looking at coming over from the Falcons/Cardinals. I think this is another guy that can be kind of sneaky. We can snag up and really help us out. Guy's got good speed. I think he's got actually a decent returner ability. Kick returns a 77, so I think that could help us out there. I thought that was another guy that could really benefit us. So as you can see, I looked at quite a bit of players. The fullback that I was looking at was the big wily veteran coming over from the Ravens, Patrick Ricard. This dude's big. He doesn't run fast, but he blocks like a freaking boss. So he's basically another O-lineman. And with Ben Johnson's offensive scheme, sometimes they run some of these I formation sets. So having a fullback that knows what the hell he's doing can really help us out in that space. And then the other guy I was looking at was Lepke coming over from the Cowboys. Guy's got 91 acceleration with a 86 speed. So the dude is just a big freaking bowling ball. So those were 2 fullbacks that I was looking at in this upcoming series. Now there was a halfback actually. And this guy I think could really help us out. We got Singletary. But the other guy I was looking at was J.K. Dobbins coming over from the Ravens/Chargers last season. And J.K. Dobbins, to me, could be really sweet. He's got some injury concerns, 100%, but when he's on the field, he's ready to kill it. So I think he could really help us out, potentially. I think last season he did okay, 88 carries for 283 yards and 5 touchdowns. But I think with his ability, he can actually play third down back if we need to. I'd like him to play more of a power back if possible, though. So we got some good players here. I'm looking forward to how we're going to scout this out. $38.8 million is not a lot, but I think it's doable to bring in the cats that we need. As you can see, when we look at our roster, we got some room, right? We got some players that can help fill in some key spots. And, we got 48 players on the roster. I'd like to bring in a whole lot more, probably at least 10, because that gets us to 58 plus the draft picks, which I believe I only have like an additional draft pick. I don't think we have like infinite amount of picks. It is, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We only got 8 draft picks. So I think I'm going to have to bring in closer to like 14 players or 15 players to help make me feel a little more comfortable. $38.8 million isn't a lot, but it's doable. And I'd like to make sure we make some big splashes in the early part of this free agency. So after the first period or eval period, we were able to sign 3 key players that I feel like are going to help us out. We signed Rashid Shaheed to a very lucrative contract. It is a $36 million contract, $12 million per year, $18 million guaranteed to be our wide receiver number 2. Rashid Shaheed alongside Malik Neighbors is going to be a nasty combo. We also went ahead and brought in a corner who I think is going to compete and push Deonte Banks to either be our CB1 or CB2. One of these guys will step up. Eric Stokes does have some injury concerns, but with his speed, I think he can make up for it initially, and hopefully we'll be set in that space. We'll probably have to look at some other corners in this upcoming draft. And then we were able to sign Dylan Reduce to a 2-year, $10 million contract, $6 million guaranteed to be a right guard. The hope there is that that helps solidify that line. Another guy with potential injury concerns, but I think this is a good start to our contract, to our signing period. Now, there was a guy I was looking at. He was on my list. He's coming over from the Rams. The guy that I am looking at is Mr. Michael Hoek. People don't really look at him as a guy that could be an amazing player, but with Hoek, he is 6'4", 310 pounds. That doesn't sound right. Is that real? Michael Hoek, is he really that big? That isn't real, right? Oh, he is. He's 310. Oh my God. So what I liked about Hoek is that the guy's actually got decent speed. He's got an okay finesse move, but this is a guy who could potentially move down into the defensive line role to help us out in that space. So I think that's a good maybe move that we do, but it is going to take some decision making here. So let's head to the second stage, or the second eval period. So we finished all the eval periods here, and we were only able to end up with 4 players heading into stage number 2. We found a punter in Matt Ariza, the punt god. He comes over from my alumni, San Diego State. I think this guy can do some really great work for us and put us in some really good positions there. We haven't been able to find any more other free agents here, but that's the whole point, right? We got $8 million left in cap space potentially, and we got some work to do. Before we head to the next stage, I definitely wanted to show some of the combine results of the players that we are currently focusing on. I think, you know, it's no surprise that the Giants are looking for a quarterback. And when you look at Shedeur Sanders' stats, it's still not bad there. He's considered a top 5 pick, right, in this upcoming draft. Travis Hunter, this is one of the guys here that could be really solid for us. He had a very good combine. Not the strongest guy, but again, you know, could help out the corners definitely. You're looking at the quarterback here in Carson Beck. His talent or his over yard looks like it's not going to be that great, and his combine was quite poor. Quinn Ewers is another guy. Dude is cerebral, and he's got some injury concerns. That's definitely something I'm paying attention to right now. But when I see a quarterback here, I think, you know, we got to try to consider that as a potential move. Jalen Milroe is another guy coming over from Alabama. Dude is big. He is a big cat, 6'2", 225. His arm is strong as heck, and this guy is a combine beast. You're looking at everything that he can do there. Imagine Jalen Milroe with the New York Football Giants. So there's some pretty good players there. Not quite sure who will fall, who will make it. The other guy that I am looking at is from Miami, and that is Cam Ward. I'm a big fan of this guy. A lot of Giants fans want Cam Ward. I think, you know, his talent's shown that he's more of a 2-3, so maybe he falls to us if we grab something better. Knowing that we are a top 2 pick, Travis Hunter is probably the guy I'd love to bring to the Giants. So we're able to bring in another player here, folks, and it is the guy who loves to eat W's, Jameis Winston. He's a 68 overall QB. He's been in the NFL for 11 years, former first-round pick. Guy still has an arm on him, and I think he's got an ability right here in the mentorship to help us out as we continue to bring in a new guy here. So I'm pretty pumped about that. We don't have much cash. You know, this is the big deal right here, is we don't have a lot of cash, so we gotta continue to work through that, and maybe we'll find some depth pieces along the way. So to continue to allow me to hunt in stage 2 here, we went ahead and restructured the contract for Kayvon Thibodeau, since we gave him a 5th-year option, allowing us to have about $2 million additional extra cap space this year. And then we restructured John Runyon's contract to give us another $1 million in available cap space. Doesn't seem like a lot, but that still gives me some room to potentially bring in some other cats here. So we'll reveal the rest of the free agents that we sign at the end of stage 3. But before we do that, let's check out and see what some of the college pro day results have happened, or some of the players that we have on our favorites. One of the guys I'd like to check out is Travion Henderson. He's projected to be a 3rd or 4th rounder here with pretty good carrying ability. It looks like this guy could be a freak for us. Decent strength on him. He was actually supposed to come out in last year's draft, but chose to go back. Good speed, elite acceleration, good change of direction. He's a pretty decent sized player there, 5'10", 208. I think what we can do with him is kind of have him in the mix there with Eric Gray and Tracy behind Singletary. So I think that's a player that it looks like the pro day kind of matches up with what we're trying to do in that space. Another guy I'm a fan of, and this is from my series that I have on Twitch. We were the offensive coordinator for the Colorado State Rams, Torrey Hunter. He's 6'3", 185 out of Colorado State. His combine and stuff all don't scream incredible. He could potentially fall to us in the 3rd round. He's got good medium release and B route. His deep route isn't on the list, but what I can see here is a 4.45 is pretty freaking good for the height that he is. He's a good route runner. It looks like his 3-cone drill improved during college pro day, and that's a guy I'd be down to bring in. One of the other guys I was looking to bring in, he was actually from Texas A&M, but I guess he went ahead and moved and transferred to Oregon. Evan Stewart. This guy is the Tyreek Hill replay here. 6 foot 175, 4.29 40-yard dash, 4.34 at the combine. The dude is a straight freaking just seam route. He's got incredible hops as well. His shuttle shows that this guy is freaking quick. He's going to be able to run his routes very well. This is a deep threat that could potentially replace Jalen Hyatt if possible. One of the other guys I was looking at was another tight end. If I can't sign one, I feel like Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame could be a pretty solid one. 6'5", 260 pounds, good height and weight. His catching looks like it's there, and his combine are showing like this guy could be ridiculous. Imagine him and Theo Johnson there. If we can't get the wide receivers to react in a way, we can come out in a freaking 12 set here and do some work. This would be sick. Him and Theo Johnson on either side. Good blocking potentially as well. And I'm talking a huge chance to have some versatility and allow whoever is our quarterback to succeed. All right, so now that the signing period is over for free agents, here are the players that we have brought onto the team. We brought in a big splash here in Rashid Shaheed coming over from the Saints. This guy was a interesting player, right? No one really knew who he was when he was with the Saints. He was signed as a UDFA in 2022. Ends up shocking the world and is an incredible player for the Saints. Now he's with the New York Giants, so my hope is that he's going to continue to help spread the field out there for us. We then brought in some competition here with hopes of kind of growing this young DB crew, and Eric Stokes coming over from the Green Bay Packers. I think his speed and stuff is there, which is fine, but my hope is that him alongside Deontay Banks can be a very nice 1-2 punch there. We brought in Michael Hoek coming over from the Rams. This is the big guy that I was shocked. He's 6'4", 310 pounds, has good speed on him, a great block shed, so we can put him in to the rushing package when needed. We found a new right guard to start for us, and I think that's going to really help us out down the road. We also brought in a new punter in Matt Ariza, and then we brought in a guy. He was actually on my list. I just didn't talk about him. He was a 72 overall. Joseph Asai coming over from the Bengals. Another winning type of culture there, and that's what I'm hoping he can do some work for us. We then brought in middle linebacker Jack Sanborn from the Bears. This guy is a thumper. I think he's going to help us out for special teams and can help us with depth along the way with this new 3-4 scheme. Israel Mukuamu was a guy that I was able to get a really solid deal for. Really cheap, a $2.2 million salary, $3 million altogether, but only $800,000 guaranteed. And then we got two quarterbacks here. These are the guys I'm really pumped about. Jameis Winston, the wily veteran, and then a guy who never got a chance to play for the Detroit Lions, Hendon Hooker. I think this guy could be the sneak pick for us if we can't draft a quarterback that I would like. Now, the quarterback is where I want to go with the draft. I just don't know if we're going to end up making that our first pick overall. Now, it's not to say that we don't do that and we go after Travis Hunter. Maybe Travis Hunter just seems like such an incredible player, but with the signing of Eric Stokes, is it the number one priority for us? I'm not quite sure. And then we snagged up, I had Ricard as my main fullback, but this guy is coming over from the Dallas Cowboys. 86 speed, 91 acceleration. What I like about him is that he actually has some decent catch ability, but he's got some good blocks. So I think with him, he could be our tight end 3, and I am cool with that. Bellinger's there, Theo Johnson's there, and that is not a bad move for us. So all in all, pretty good situation. 10, 11, 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We ended up signing 11 players, which isn't bad. That gets us to 59 players, I believe, overall. Before we head into the draft with 8 picks, that gets me to 67, which is not bad. I think that's a good situation for us so far, and it's not. I think we're going to be able to roll with it. I forgot we still got some players here, which is kind of nice. Schloutman is the backup center there for JMS. So we got some original O-line. Kubas is on here. We do have Braden Daniels coming over from the practice squad. We'll see Evan Neal. Maybe he ends up continuing to roll. I think Illuminar is going to play just fine. We got Cameron Latu that's going to compete for tight end 3. Bryce Ford Wheaton's on this team. I'm pretty pumped about that still. Jalen Hyatt, hopefully he finds his way through it along with Wan'Dale Robinson. I think we only have 3 running backs here, but I could see us drafting one. Definitely see us drafting at least one quarterback in this upcoming draft. As far as the defense is concerned, it's going to be fun, right? Muasau, to me, looks like he could be really solid with McFadden starting there. I think we got a good group of free safeties. JT Woods. So we got practice squad guys that are going to be heading that. And you got Eric Stokes alongside Banks. Andrew Phillips is going to step up as well. We got Trey Hawkins and Cordell Flott still on the team. I am really pumped about this crew. I feel like we got the right guys, man. I really do. I feel like, when you see somebody like Elijah Chapman, I felt like Chapman played pretty well, and he had opportunities throughout the season to be a dog and get a dev trait. We just could not get that right, and unfortunately couldn't pull the trigger there. So we're gonna see some guys come out and rock with it, right? We got a practice squad player. This is another Ram that I think could be really solid for us, but we got a good crew. I'm gonna move some guys around, get them in the right spot, but this is not a bad situation for us. We're an 80 overall, 79 offense, 83 defense, so the defense looks solid. With Pinnock back on the team too at free safety, I think that just makes me feel a little more comfortable. But we're going to do whatever it takes, to win. And I think we got the right group to set us up for this upcoming draft. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with the things that we did. Before we advance to the free agency recap, actually we can advance there now. As I don't see myself signing anybody. Oh, I can't sign anybody else. We're already past the eval period there. But I'm hoping we can kind of work through it, right? We got some private workout stuff that I'll deal with. I'm not really too concerned with that. But let's check out the rest of the league. Who were the big signings across the league? So when it comes to the quarterbacks, players that were signed, Justin Fields is going to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is retired, and they paid this man a buttload. Holy crap. $77.8 million with $41.5 million guaranteed. Justin Fields is the new quarterback for the New York Jets. Sam Darnold signs an extension. Looks like he's going back to Minnesota to help out and compete against J.J. McCarthy. 3-year deal for $27.5 million. Desmond Ridder heading to the Rams there. He got a lucrative deal. $27.8 million for 3 years. Mac Jones is going to go ahead and back up Sam Darnold over there. Stetson Bennett no longer with the Rams. He's going to the Panthers. Sean Clifford's a Saint. Interesting. When you look at the halfbacks, Jalen Warren is going to be in the backfield with Kyron Williams. Very busy backfield there. And look at this, folks. Alvin Kamara is a Raider. 2-year deal for a little over $14 million. That is a steal. Now, they need a quarterback, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Khalil Herbert ends up signing with the Cowboys. Their running back crew is kind of messed up. Sad for this to happen. I was fighting to try to bring him onto the team. We just didn't have the cap space. J.K. Dobbins gets a pretty good deal, though. A little over $15 million for 3 years. 5 years, $5 million a year is not bad. Elijah Mitchell's going to be there as well. You got Kenneth Gainwell to the Texans, Cam Akers to the Titans. Dillon's also there too, so that's their new 1-2 punch. And Jordan Mason going to the Texans. That guy is a UDFA. Hopefully he kicks butt. This one's a little bit of a surprise here because I don't know what they're going to do with Jamison Williams. But it is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown and Keenan Allen over there in Detroit. Amari Cooper ends up going where Keenan was in Chicago, and he's going to be out there alongside freaking DJ Moore. So maybe the Bears kind of work through it. Marquise Hollywood Brown's going to Tampa Bay. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Hollywood Brown, good work out. DeAndre Hopkins, I could totally see him being a Niner. 2 years for $26 million. Debo gets hurt. Ayuk gets hurt. Kittle gets hurt. So having a good veteran like that to replace Juwan Jennings, that's actually a pretty good upgrade. Then you got Elijah Moore going to Detroit. So there's the other guy right there. And that's going to push Jamison Williams down. Maybe that's a guy we can look at. Juwan Jennings going to Minnesota. Mecole Hardman going to the Titans. Tutu Atwell to the Jets. Tight end, the only guy signed was Juwan. Dude, that tight end room is so freaking filled. Jelani Woods is there, but maybe it's going to be him kind of helping out Woods. Garrett Bowles going to Washington. Jedrick Wills, with Trent Williams retiring, they find their young tackle there leaving Cleveland. And I think that's a good move for him to play with a very, very good squad there. Dan Moore heading to the Patriots. Left guard, Lyle Collins going to Arizona. Isaiah Wynn to the Commanders. Laken Tomlinson to the Vikings. Ryan Kelly is the new center now for the Titans. Drew Dahlman going to Chicago. And David Andrews to Arizona. Oh yeah, where did Josh Myers go? He went back to the Packers. Brandon Scherf to Tampa Bay. Right tackle, Havenstein's going to the Titans. Macari to the Jets. Left end, Cameron Jordan. Wow. So they had a veteran there in J.J. Watt a couple of years back. Now they're bringing in Cameron Jordan to try to fill in that gap there. Sam Hubbard to the Lions. The Lions defense is going to be scary this year. Onyemata to the Bengals to fill the gap of B.J. Hill. And prior to that, it was another guy that left them. He was a big guy too. I can't remember his name, but they bring in Onyemata to do that. Fatukasi's to the Panthers. BJ Hill is a Texan. That's scary right there. Right in, Omanehu, who came over from the Niners, then to the Chiefs. He's going to the Patriots now. Ibukam going back to the Chargers. I believe he was a Charger at one point in his career. I think it was when he first started. Willie Gay going to the Niners. That is scary, and that is disgusting. Dre Greenlaw's there, so I'm assuming that is going to be a ridiculous crew. Greenlaw, freaking Fred Warner, and Willie Gay. Dangerous second level. Devin Bush to the Texans. Azeez Ojulari. I thought he was going to the Cardinals. It looked like he was going to be there with him and his brother to join his brother BJ Ojulari, but it doesn't look like that's the case anymore. Middle linebacker Jerome Baker. That's a surprise one. He's going to the Chargers. Kazir White to the Rams. I think these are all great moves here. Right outside linebacker Khalil Mack. He's going to the Titans. I guess that's where he's going to end his career. Judon to the Raiders. A very Raider move. Jonathan Cooper. I really liked him, but I just couldn't bring him on. And he got a very good deal. They're $20 million for 3 years. He's going to be a Charger. Isaiah Simmons to the Raiders. Akeem Davis-Gaither, a Bronco. All great moves. Best corner in the in this offseason is Stephon Gilmore. He's going to the Bengals. Paulson Adebo is the one I think everyone wanted. He actually didn't take that crazy of a deal. He just didn't want to play for us. I think I would have had to pay him $30 million in order to make it work, and he only accepted probably about a little less than $23 million to play for the Chargers. So that's a good move for him. We wish him the best of luck. Okudah goes to the Texans. Justin Simmons. He wanted to play for us. We just didn't have the cap for him. He got a $20 million deal to go to play in Buffalo. Winning culture there, right? They're Super Bowl champions in this series. Jimmy Ward over there too. So they brought in some really good guys. I don't think there's anything wrong with the moves that we made. I'm really excited for the upcoming draft. You know, that's going to be the next one. It's going to be my first time experiencing a draft in this series or in Madden, in this new Madden. So we'll see how it works out. I like the guys that I have. I feel comfortable with the players that we have so far. But the one big one right now that we have to think about is the quarterback. Shedeur Sanders is the projection for us. The thoughts are that Shedeur Sanders is the best overall player, best overall quarterback that's out there. To me, I don't think that's necessarily the greatest thing for us. Right? It looks like the Lions are the #1 overall pick. They don't need a quarterback. They're going to go James Pierce. Shedeur Sanders is amazing. I just don't know if it's it. Travis Hunter to the Falcons would be a sweet move. Will Johnson to the Vikings. Another legit player there. Jack Sawyer moving all the way up to play for the Steelers is pretty sick. Luther Burden to the Browns. Retooling that crew there. Tyroa McMillan from University of Arizona going to the Texans. That's freaking disgusting. Nico Collins, Tank Dell, now Teta. That would be freaking nuts. Jabbar Muhammad from Oregon's a really good move. The Saints are looking at Jonah, which I guess they're trying to maybe move on from Ramczyk. That could be a move for us. Carson Beck to the Raiders. This guy has all the right stats. His combine's not the greatest, but I don't need a guy with a crazy combine. I just need somebody that could really help us out. Now, with this mock here, right, it doesn't necessarily mean like that's what's going to happen. Quinn Ewers is the other guy that we could potentially grab. I have to be patient with my draft. I think it's always about grabbing the best player available. And as much as I'd love to get a quarterback right now in the top pick, I just don't see Shedeur Sanders being the giant that we need. I just don't, man. He's smaller. He's actually not that small. 6'2", 215. He's a decent size. I don't know. Something doesn't feel right with Shedeur Sanders as a giant. So to move on from him would be scary. But then you're talking about bringing in another guy. Like, what if we snagged another corner? Or check this out, knowing that we're a top 2 pick, imagine if we moved back in the draft. And we moved like right around I'd say if we moved around to here, because the next quarterback available is 17 potentially. If we moved back to here, what would that do? Or if we moved to the Raiders, right? Let's say the Raiders wanted to move up. If we could snag a ridiculous trade, I would do it, because there is a quarterback that I'm a big fan of in Cam Ward from Miami. I think he would be a better fit for the Giants than Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers. So we got some things to work on there. I'm going to check to see real quick before we end the episode, were there any trades that were made? There were none. So everybody is standing tight here heading into the draft. I feel good with the guys that we have. I think it's not a bad decision for the things that we've done. We have a little bit of cap space. We made some splashes in some areas that I think can help us out. I think the Rashid Shaheed pickup is huge for the Giants' offensive weapons. I think we got some guys that can roll through it with this new offensive scheme now, coming over from Ben Johnson. So it's going to be a fun one. Looking forward to the next episode. A little longer here, just thinking about the off season, but I'm kind of cool with it because it's my first time doing an off season setup here in this new Madden, and it's kind of clunky, but you know, you work with what you got. But that'll do it for us today, everybody. If you like what you saw, please drop a like, leave a comment, tell me what you think, and most importantly, subscribe to keep up with the series. Looking forward to the next stage there. We'll talk about the draft, and I'm looking forward to seeing some new Giants on this team. Have yourself a good one, and as always, let's go Big Blue.